Hello everyone. So welcome to our study abroad podcast series. So today we have Kirthika from Singapore who will be sharing her journey. Welcome Kirthika to our podcast.
Hi, hello. Nice meeting you
Hello.
all.
Hello.
Thank you. So we'll get started with our questions that we prepared for you. So the very first question I would like to ask you is you being a student at VIT Vellore and then you moved to Singapore for your higher studies. So, what was the decision making process? When did you decide that you would like to go abroad for studies?
To begin with, I think the field that I chose was biomedical engineering, and I was very specific, and that is exactly where I wanted to pursue my education and my career path. So, biomed in India, not a lot of universities even offer biomed. Even then, they're still in a very primitive level. They're not in a very highly sophisticated sense. So, if I want to pursue studies further in this field, I think overseas would have been the one option that I had. And how did I go to the university? Meaning, what happened was in VIT, we have a program called SAP, Semester Abroad Program. So, what I did was throughout my studies, I made sure I finished all my modules and all my things before my final semester. So, 3.5 years, I'm done with all my modules. So, my last semester is dedicated only for my project. So because I don't need to take modules on campus, I can afford to go overseas, or it could be even an outside company in India that I could do my project in, not just in-house project. So I applied to Singapore, I applied to NUS. So honestly, I applied to like several labs, whichever I thought was interesting to me. So the process, what I did was I went to the websites, I looked through the labs, I looked through what kind of research they are doing and was interesting to me and what I want to learn more. So I checked out the lab websites, and then they have something called principal investigators. So I directly emailed all these principal investigators to know whether they're interested to take a student doing a project for 6 months. So I told them this is what I've done and this is what I want to do and why am I interested in your research. That was in my email, and then sent it out to them. And then few of them replied, and then we had like a short introduction or in kind of like an interview process. And once that was done, and I chose a lab called medical mechatronics to do my SAP. So then I went back to my university telling them that I have this opportunity and I would want to pursue, doing my project there. So once I went to NUS to do my final year project, and that's when I realized that it's so much different outside than how it was in VIT. So in VIT, we did have a lot of mini projects. So all these projects are self-funded. So meaning like if I went to make my, I have to literally take my bus and auto and everything to go to the shop, the electrical shops or the mechanical parts or 3D print, whatever. I have to do it all myself. But here, the amount of funding that was given for research was like so amazing. I was so like astonished at how like the tables are so different on this side, and that really made me excited that okay, there is something that I don't need to worry about is the resources, and that funding is available. So it made me pursue my ideas more to do research. So once I finished my final year project, I think I kind of finished in like 3, 4 months. I also published a paper. So I think the PI, the principal investigator, the professor of the lab was very impressed. He asked me, can you apply for a PhD? Like, I would like to take you as a student. So I wanted to just do a master's and then, go ahead to do my own company or get into a, industry. But then since he asked me, then I thought, okay, that's a direct PhD option. Maybe I can also consider that. So I applied for NUS and I also applied for a few other universities. I did get a couple of them. Then I just chose NUS because of the reputation, the rapport I had with my professor, and the research that we were doing. And the resources are all there. So I thought, okay, this is a good opportunity. And I was on scholarship. So the university gave me NUS research scholarship. So I also get a stipend every month for my PhD. So fully funded, I get a stipend, and what more do you need? So it's kind of similar to a job, but I'm also getting a degree and I'm also getting to do what I like to do. So that's how I ended up in NUS.
semester abroad program, you had a few choices of colleges to choose from that time.
So typically what happens is when you apply to the semester abroad program in BIT, the university will kind of map you with different universities that you can talk to or you get in touch with. So that's how it happens. But instead of just the university doing that, I did this myself. I went and I researched on what professor or what lab I want to join or what kind of work I want to do, or what project I want to do to begin with. So I did it and I got the opportunity and then I just brought it to the university. So it was like just an application process for them. If not, university also has the option that they will link you up.
So this semester abroad program is something you have to pay, you have to take care of the whole expense.
Kind of, but there are different options that different people can do. One is whichever, okay, if you want to do the semester abroad program in a university outside, the first thing you can ask the professor who you're going to, do you have funding that can support me? Because they can consider this like an internship. So your internship, that according to the professors an internship, according to you, you submit the project for your thesis for your undergraduate. So as an intern you do get paid somehow, right? So you can always ask, there's nothing wrong in asking, because I did ask, like, do you have any funding for my stay here, or like do you have any resources or grants that can support me to do this? Some people do, some people have funding and they're ready to take. Some people are mostly like, I'm giving you the opportunity to do that. So for me it's more like the opportunity cost is much more important than what I'm paying out for it.
So it was like a partially funded, you can say, like you maybe there was a something given to you. You also spent something, but you didn't have to pay for the whole thing totally. But
Yes.
eventually, when you did PhD, everything came back to
Yes.
you, and you
Yes.
were on the profit side in few months probably.
Yes, it's like an investment, right? I mean, that's one thing. And the second thing is also like, only if you actually live there and go through the culture of it, you would know whether you want to stay there or not. It could be a month, it could be two. And because I lived like there and I go to NUS every day, I meet with people, I see what's happening around me. Do I like it? If not, I can always consider overseas. I did apply to Canada and University of California. I had only applied for 4 universities. I know people do apply a lot, but I was very particular with what courses I wanted to do and what exactly I wanted to do. So I only applied to four, and I got back results, and then I decided to go with NUS.
Yeah. So you had a trial initially with your semester abroad program,
Yes,
and then that trial was successful. So you said, okay, let's go for it.
yes,
And
yes,
then you had other universities also, but there you didn't do the trial probably. So
yes,
probably, all this made you join NUS and probably nearer to India also and all, like you already had a bit of
yes, of
those
course.
things. Sure. So and how was the application process for this PhD program that you did? Like the straightforward, what are the documents you have to submit?
So it's pretty straightforward for any course, any field, be it masters, be it PhD, be it anything that you want to do. Big universities like NUS, MIT, Harvard, or whatsoever, they have every information on their websites. So you don't need to ask people, you don't need to like search anywhere else. It's evidently clear on the website. Maybe you can read out Quora or other formats, or podcasts like you can help with these things. So what happened was, for NUS, it's very clear on the website. There's something called admission criteria. So for certain courses, you need GRE. For certain courses, you need at least 3 years of work experience to even apply. So there are certain requirements. So for NUS, what was needed was GRE and TOEFL. So as a standard practice, you do a GRE and you do TOEFL. And if you want to go to Europe, you do IELTS, or Australia IELTS. And if you want to go to US, you do right IELTS or TOEFL, something like that, right? So these are standard wherever you're applying. So you just prepare this. And just one point to note would be, when you start preparing would be your third year. You don't prepare in your final year. You start preparing probably third year, second semester. So you can prepare and write your exams, and 1 year ahead, you are already slowly shortlisting the universities and also slowly starting to apply. Because when you start in your final year, you're already like, you will be laid back by a semester sometimes.
Sure, sure. And the visa and all was done by the college only, or you had to do it at a separate process?
Everything is done through the universities.
That's also one probably good side of Singapore, that everything is done through college only. And I think you got like an in principle approval letter or something.
Yes, so for any student that coming from overseas, they would get an approval letter, and then once you enroll after you commence, and then I mean once you join your orientation, and then they will tell you go and collect your ID card and so location. So and then the orientation helps a lot.
Sure, sure. And anyway, you had orientation at the very beginning, your semester. So when you did this semester abroad program, you had like other people from your college also joining, or you were the only
No,
one?
no, I was solo, and it was kind of like an eye-opening experience for me because one thing, I'm not losing time experimenting after my university. So I get to do this while I'm still a student during my 4 years of undergraduate. So I'm not wasting my time. So right after undergraduate, I joined PhD immediately. Like I didn't waste any months in between. So I did it in the last semester, right? So I didn't really lose much time there.
Okay, okay. So it was pretty much last semester, then a break, then finally you got into PhD.
There was no break. So I finished my last semester. I think we submit and everything gets done in like June. I started my PhD in August. So I had like a month.
Yeah, sure, sure. And when you came the first time, how was your lifestyle change when you probably had to do, let's say, everything by your own versus like a mess food versus food court and other things? And how did you find your accommodation first time you came?
Maybe I can share what my friends did. I have family here, so it wasn't a problem for me. But maybe what my friends did was a few of them. I have a lot of friends coming from India. So what happened is they kind of find groups on Facebook, accommodation groups. And then, if you're joining at mid 2025, fall or 2025, like August, you're joining NUS. So they have specific Facebook groups, and people just join together, find accommodations together, they book a room together, things like that happens. And food wise, of course, then when they're together, they cook together and you make friends, and sometimes these friends are sticking by you for several years because you're in the same country and you start working together, you study together and everything.
So you are still staying with your family, or you now moved out to your
I
place?
am. I mean, I'm now married. I have my own family, and we have our own house here. So yes. In terms of for foreign students, if they're coming and they're kind of doing all these things, food wise is not much of a problem. You just need to learn basic cooking. But NUS also has, like, since it's a university, everything is like student price. Food wise, you have like a proper Indian stall having proper Indian food. You get like chapati, vada, papad, everything is there, so don't have to worry about food as long as you're on campus. Maybe if you're going out, then you have food courts and restaurants and so on, but then on campus you don't have to worry about anything.
You said you have some family members there, so that was from the very beginning only, right? You have
Yes.
like somebody staying in. So you stayed with them initially, or they helped you
Yes,
find accommodation,
I
kind
was
of?
with them. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So that was also one cushion, like your family and your parents would have no
Yes.
problem sending you because you have somebody, a local guardian there.
Actually, my parents are here, so that's why I was trying to say this as a general, so everybody can get majority experience because my experience is different. But I do have friends who are doing this, so I speak for them.
So you did your schooling from India or Singapore only?
I did my schooling till my 10th grade in Singapore. Then I came to India for my 11th and 12th and my undergraduate. Then I came to Singapore for my PhD.
Okay, okay. It was coming back home then.
Yes, kind of.
You were born in Singapore only, is it?
I was born in India, so I'm doing a lot of back and forth from India and Singapore. Of course, that's one advantage when it's so close to home. I mean, home as in India and Singapore, both are home.
So that brings me to another curious question, which may not be exactly the part of this because, but it's specific to you. So why did you choose VIT Vellore then? Like you didn't think you should do your UG also from Singapore only?
So that's the thing, right? So I had a bit of change in my mindset when I was doing my 10th grade. So at that time, I was very keen on pursuing medicine. I wanted to pursue medicine, but the chances of getting into a med school, there's only one med school. There was only one med school in Singapore, and the chance of getting into is like so narrow and slim. So I wanted to broaden my opportunities, that the chances of getting into a med school, even if I get my merit score and so on. So what I did was, that's when I came back to India for my 11th and 12th. So I'm still an Indian citizen back then, right? So I can still apply to universities, I can still go. But after I came to 11th and 12th, when I studied biology, I realized that maybe that's not what I want to do. I really loved physics, I really wanted to do engineering, but I still like medical healthcare space. So that's why I chose biomedical engineering. That's why I'm still very, very, very keen on pursuing a career in this field, because I love engineering and I love the medical field. So I want a proper intersection there.
Sure. And I see that you are doing postdoc at in the biomedical field only, I think, from
Yes.
N1, right?
Yes.
And how is this? Like, you want to get into like pure research or you want to become a professor? What's your aim like?
So right now, there are different mindsets. So after PhD, there are several career options that you can do. Of course, one is a traditional. After any studies, you can go and join an industry. You can in industry, you can do R&D, or you can take up different roles in industry. The other route, traditional route that people always do after PhD, they do a postdoc and then they do an professorship, like assistant, associate, and so on. So that happens as well. So I am in the intersection where I'm not in the complete acceptance of pursuing it in academia. So I want to go to the industry, mainly because one thing that I realize is a lot of projects, a lot of research work that's being done in academia, by the time they translate to real world technologies, they take several years. And specifically medical technology, they take decades. And I don't want to be in my 90 years old getting my Nobel Prize. So I want to see what I work on translating and making some change to patients' life or people's life in general. So I want to see that happening in real time. So the kind of work that we do at the N1 Institute for Health right now, it's we are doing clinical trials. So we have a technology that we're working on, and then we are trying to do clinical trials with patients. So patients are already benefiting from this work that we are doing. So that's in academia. But transitioning from there, I'm moving on to a different segment where I'll be looking at startups, medical tech startups. I'm transitioning actually next month, so to a new role. I'll be a manager for innovation and enterprise in National Health Innovation Center in Singapore. So where I'll be looking at startups, where looking at business models and trying to link them up different stakeholders in the industry. So that's more like translational work. So from research to more of a business aspect of things, more into implementing and translating them out. So it's more forward in the sense, less of an engineer, more of an implementation side of medtech.
N1 Health is part of NUS only or is a separate
It
entity?
is an research institute inside NUS, but in Singapore, there are also several research institutes outside universities as well. They are like individual research institutes, like Silicon Valley is known for startups. So there are places called A Star. So A Star specifically, there's like an entire area, there's several buildings full of research, and they're not part of universities. Sometimes they're like individual research institutions, and they do pay quite well for research here. So yes.
And now you're joining like a startup conglomerate,
No,
which,
I'm joining the government agency. It's
oh,
called National Health Innovation Center, and then in that my role would be looking at these startups.
medical medical tech
Yes.
startups.
Yes.
Okay. So that is like a whole health organization of the government where you will be looking at part of the startup side of it.
Yes.
So you are
Yes.
finishing your postdoc very soon then, right?
Yes. This month.
Okay, okay. So you have finished and you applied for, let's say, you this is like a full-time job then, right?
A postdoc is also a full-time job. So
Yes.
actually, what happens is, So after your PhD, right, anything you do, you're actually employed full time. The reason why they call postdoctorate, you don't actually get a degree out of it, but that's like the path that you take to your professorship. So so there's another career path. So I can probably go to the industry for 10 years. So now I'm going to outside organization and then I go to industry for 10 years. And even if I want to join a university as a professor, I can always come back. That's why I'm thinking of taking this risk of exiting out from academia, trying to explore and get my knowledge, and then I can always come back with real time knowledge and real world knowledge to the students. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's what I have in my
You can
head.
always be the visiting faculty, if not the full-fledged faculty.
Yes, probably when I'm probably in 10, 15 years, when I decide to go back to India and retire, I'm probably going to do that. I will go back to VIT and, be the faculty and go to any, I mean, it could be IIT, VIT, anywhere.
Yeah, not just IIT. What you can do is you can actually, spend like a month or a week at many places instead of just
Yes,
one. So you can
yes,
be the traveler, learning and traveling kind of person,
yes. Because I
teaching and
feel,
traveling.
yeah, I really felt when I came for my SAP, the semester prep program, it was like a pressing need for me that I know so many people have wonderful ideas back in VIT. I know so many talents. They're so talented and like brilliant ideas. But because of the lack of resources, I mean, not just to VIT, like to a lot of people, a lot of friends from different universities as well. They're very smart, they're very brilliant. But because of lack of resources, sometimes they don't go too far. And the other side, I see, of course, everybody is also equally smart and brilliant. When I walked into NUS, I felt like so tiny because they're all like the super smart kids from all over the world here. So I feel like what could change in VIT. So I'm actually talking to professors, and I do when I talk to people in VIT, like how we can make this better environment for nurturing, like research environment better.
Yeah, sure, sure. I think if they can do very similar to what you did, like develop like this exchange program kind of thing,
Yeah.
a research exchange or a semester exchange or like internship kind of thing.
Yes.
And you can
Yes.
maybe, I presume you are a Singapore citizen now,
Now, yes.
almost. Okay. So
Yes,
in
I
any way,
am.
I mean, if you can always facilitate this kind of exposure, exchange programs or something, or even like a remote exchange kind of thing that can do that, VIT to Singapore or VIT to NUS kind of thing. And yeah, that will be one good. And we, in our company also, we are trying very similar to that only, but like 1 week, more like 1 week, not a semester, because semester is usually more expensive. 1 week,
Mm.
10 days is something people can afford very easily, whereas semester becomes unaffordable for many people. So not lot of people may not be even in VIT, they may not be able to afford that semester exchange, but something like a week, 10 days is more feasible. So we'll see how that goes. So that's good to know. It's great to hear your journey. And what are your like goals in few years? Apart from, I think you already mentioned in bits and pieces that you want to do something the medical side.
Yes.
Anything specific? What
So
medical direction or which kind of diseases or something you are aiming at?
I'm not specific to any condition. I'm looking at because right now I work in oncology space. The clinical trials that I'm doing is in cancer with cancer patients, oncology space. But I'm not limiting myself to any particular disease or technology because I think it's all about opportunity and timing. I'm open to this. I know I can do my part as an engineer. I know I can do my part because I did try to experiment with a few startups while I was doing my PhD. I like a medtech startups. So I kind of know a little bit of that route as well. And this new role, I'll be learning a bit more in the ecosystem, what it takes to have a successful startup and so on. So I'm just building different blocks along the line. So what I see myself in future would be someone as a key opinion leader who's able to make these changes, because one thing that I realized being in this medtech space is like a lot of things are not accessible to a lot of people. And now India has become so much digital that digital health can be a very, very easily implementable solution in India. So digital health is something that's getting more and more popular these days. But the AI in medtech, there is not much guidelines, not very clear guidelines, but it's transitioning. They're doing a bit more. A lot of talks are being going on. So I'm kind of in that position where I'm in trying to go around what's happening in the digital health space in medical technologies. So that's where I think I will travel for now.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good. Great to know about your aspiration and your journey. Any specific advice to the youngsters, how they should decide on their career path regarding any abroad studies, Singapore or any other country? What will be your tip to, let's say, the younger versions?
First thing is try to be curious and please take some time to sit down in your universities. I know you have a lot of time. Sit down and research about these universities before you apply. Like go specific. You might think, oh, this is so cool, I want to apply. If I get, I'll go. No, that's not how it goes, because you're going to live there. The end, what is your end goal after your universities, after your masters or your PhD? You want to make sure that degree helps you to achieve something that you want to do. So make sure it's accredited universities, because anybody can do a masters, but then where you do it matters a lot in your career. Like the branding of the universities actually matter, because I didn't know that until now. Right? So it really matters so much where you do your degrees, be it your undergraduate, be it your, because it depends on, you could be computer science engineering from 10 different universities, but the graduates from each university, depending on the grade of the university, actually matters a lot, because of the exposure that they get in those universities, the kind of opportunities they have in the universities. So it's very, very important. Sit down, make a list of at least 10 to 15 universities, then slowly shortlist from there. And that's how I did it. I only applied to four. I was very specific. This is exactly, if I get it, I'll go. If not, I'll apply again. That's what I was doing. So just be very specific with what you want. And yes, you can have options, but know why you choose a particular option.
I think we always have a lot of options, and the main problem is narrowing down those options to a single option. The MCQ has too many choices now.
That's true. If sometimes, the world, or, it will narrow it down for you. Maybe you can apply to 10 and you would only get three offers. And based on the processing or the funding or these kind of things. So somehow other factors will help you narrow it down.
Sure, sure. So, okay, Kritika, thank you very much for your time and sharing your insight. So, we'll end our podcast now, and hopefully, we'll
Thank you
be
so
in
much
touch.
for having me. And thank you for doing what you do, because this kind of guidance was not there for me back when I was studying. So this is really, really helpful to a lot of students. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.